Hi everyone, welcome back to Ria's collection. Today I am going to make a very tender and delicious chocolate cake. This recipe uses your basic pantry staples. Let's begin. You can find the complete recipe in the description box below. So to begin, we're going to bloom a little bit of cocoa powder in a tiny amount of milk. So I have about a cup of milk here and I'm splitting that into two. I'm going to set aside 1/2 for later. And by using a whisk, I'm going to add and mix it all up together. This process is called blooming, and this allows the cocoa powder to utilize its full flavor. It brings out the chocolatiness in the cocoa powder. Once it's all mixed up, we're going to set that aside and we'll get our dry ingredients ready. So I am using a sieve and a bowl. This is to sift all our dry ingredients together. So we're going to add some flour, followed by the leavening agent, which is the baking soda. We're not using baking powder in this recipe, it's just baking soda. And a tiny bit of salt to balance out all the sweetness. I like to do this from a height, just so that the flour gets aerated, in turn making the cake very tender and moist. Just make sure there are no lumps in the sieve. And we're going to set this bowl aside. And I am going to bring out another bowl. And let's add in our softened room temperature butter. And by using an electric mixer, I feel this step goes really quickly. So do this on a low speed and you're just trying to, blend the butter and soften it up furthermore. So give it about a minute of blending the butter. And now we're going to add in the sugar and we're going to cream the butter and sugar for about 2 to 3 minutes. I am using the granulated sugar because it's fine granules that we get here. If you are getting larger granules of sugar in the place that you live, I would highly recommend powdering the sugar. So once it's all creamed, I like to scrape the sides of the bowl using a rubber spatula. And now we're going to add in the next ingredient, which are the eggs. So we're going to add it one at a time. And I like to beat the eggs into the creamed butter and sugar mixture for about 35 to 40 seconds after each addition. So this is a second egg. We're going to mix it up well and you will notice that the batter is getting more liquidy and more cake batter like at this point. The next two ingredients are the 1/2 cup of milk that we set aside in the beginning and also all of the dry ingredients that we sieved earlier. So we're going to add the flour mixture in 3 sets and the milk in 2 batches. So the first set of flour has gone in. So do this on a low speed because you are not looking for the gluten strands to form because that is going to make your cake very rubbery. So once the cake batter absorbs all of the flour, we're going to add in the milk in 2 batches. And once it's all combined, we're going to continue doing the same with the remainder of the flour and milk. So this process started by adding the flour and it will also end by adding the last bit of flour. When you are doing it this way, it's kind of like an insurance to make sure that the cake batter doesn't get overmixed. And if you want to do this step by hand, you could choose to use a rubber spatula or even a wooden spoon to continue mixing the flour and milk in. Always remember, if you're using an electric mixer, please do it on a low speed. That is the last bit of flour that was left behind. And I'm going to mix it until it's combined, until it's just combined, because do not overmix. And that step will ensure that your baked goods, turn out the way it's supposed to be. And now there's one more ingredient that we need to add, which is that bloomed cocoa liquid that we set aside in the beginning. I'm just going to give it one last swirl just to make sure nothing is settled at the bottom of the glass jar. And let's add that all in. I always like to scrape liquids out because that amount of liquid makes a difference. So make sure you're scraping it all out and nothing goes waste that way. You can do the next step by using a wooden spoon or a spatula also. So I've also added in a little bit of vanilla extract. I am doing this again on a low speed. I am just looking to combine that yellow cake batter and this cocoa milk together. You just want everything to be combined. It smells so good in here. The cake batter looks perfectly done. I'm just scraping down the sides to make sure everything is well combined and there is no dry bits of flour at the bottom of the bowl. The consistency also looks perfect. It's of nice flowing batter consistency. Now I'm going to get the pan ready. So today I am using a ceramic loaf pan that measures 9 inches on the longer side and 5 inches on the shorter side. I also like to line my loaf tins or loaf pans with a parchment paper, and this is usually how I line. And you don't have to follow this way, you can do the way that you're used to. I ended up using a little bit larger size of paper than it was required, which is why I'm trying to stuff it all in. Now that the batter has all been transferred, I like to gently tap the pan on the countertop to release any trapped air bubbles. Now the batter is ready to be baked. I am going to bake it at 350 degree Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius for about 50 to 55 minutes. The cake has been baked completely, and I always like to touch the top a tiny bit to see if it's springing back to the touch, and also do the toothpick test to make sure there's no wet batter in the center of the cake. So if it comes out clean, it means the cake is completely done. I also like to cool my bakes like cakes and cookies on a cooling rack for about 25 to 30 minutes once it's out of the oven. And I just let it be, and this way the cake also releases better. And it's easy to pull out the cakes just like this by using the parchment paper. And I also like to peel it away like so and let the cake cool down completely. This is a very, very tender and soft cake, and the top has a nice crust, and it is a very good chocolate cake. I think you should bake it. Now that I have sliced it, you can see how it looks on the inside. It has a almost velvet-like texture. This cake is very easy to make and it goes perfectly with berries, chocolate sauce, vanilla ice cream. I really hope you all give this recipe a try, especially now that the Valentine's Day is around the corner. So enjoy.